everyone. Welcome to Revenue Reinvented with AI, a podcast brought to you by SalesboxAI. I'm Namrata, your host, an AI marketer and writer, guiding you through conversations at the intersection of marketing, sales, AI, of course, and its impact on revenue and related stories. And I'm very happy to welcome Michael Hotz. He's the Senior Marketing Data and AI Executive at Ford, and he's widely recognized as a generative AI strategic leader. And he has transformed legacy MarTech into AI-driven revenue systems. And I also read that at Ford, he architected a customer stage framework, which is projected at somewhere between $125 to $220 million in value. So I think, which is superb. And I was really impressed by that. And he has had a great career spanning over 25 years at Oracle, Adobe, Iterable, Bluecore, and Ford. And he has helped organizations fix the decision problem. And I recently read an article about it, and Kay, my co-host, will further ask some questions related to that. So hang on there. Now coming on to my co-host, Kay Keenest. She's the CMO of SalesboxAI. She has held executive positions in the marketing arena at True Influence, GE Power Digital, and Seagate. A little bit of trivia also. She and Mike have worked together at CDW. So I think you guys will have a fabulous conversation today. And I think I can personally vouch for their intelligence and their compatibility today. And I look forward to their conversation, really. And both of them bring a wealth of perspective and experience in this field on how exactly AI is transforming marketing leadership and revenue, which is the core theme of our podcast, really. So, okay, now I'll hand it over to you and you can take it from there and kick off the conversation.
Thank you very much, Namrata. You're always fun. Would you please define what a customer state framework is? Because that's what we, in essence, will be talking about.
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely. I mean, I think the big difference here is when you think about an audience, that really goes back to way back, like direct mail, postal mail, right? When you used to have to physically take pieces and like they had to go in different bins at the post office. So when we kind of think about that, it's really, I like to equate it, I like my analogy. So I think of it as like high school yearbook. It's at a point at time, like who are they, right? Like that's what we're looking at. Where when you start thinking about the state, that's like more like a GPS that has like the traffic. It's like, where are they right now? So it's more contextual, right? So you could have like two people in your case and like using segmentation, they have the identical demographics or firmographics depending on, B2B or B2C. But one's right now is like comparing options and the other one bought yesterday. Like they need to be treated differently, right? You need to capture the behavior, the recency, the intent, the context, like all those things, not really just, thinking about like where they were in that high school yearbook. So I hope all of us are different than what we were in our high school yearbook.
Oh, come on. Let's assume we're still that young, but yes. Wiser.
Exactly.
Okay, so now what we need done is a different approach. So would you walk us through what's broken about traditional lifestyle segmentation and what companies actually are experiencing when it fails? Let's set the context of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you think about traditional segmentation, I'll go back to what I mentioned. It was really built like long ago for direct mail. So how we kind of think about that today is it's still a lot of fixed journeys. I work for Oracle. I work for Responses. I work with Salesforce. All of them today still think about fixed journeys. So it's like, okay, like this is what happened. There was a trigger. So the system's going to send email 3 to everyone that's on day 30 kind of thing, right? Like, but is everybody, as we just talked about, like in the same place on day 30? So that's part of the problem with like traditional segmentation. The other thing is like, how do you arbitrate against all those things? Like, how about if the same person is qualifying for like 12 different campaigns because you've built all these like, cut up journeys? Like, how do you figure it out? Like, if you send it to all of them, it's going to be irrelevant to them and they're going to shut you off. Like people say, oh, it's audience fatigue. Like, oh, we're not, they're not responding anymore. I think the solution is really AI and thinking of it differently. So that's really like, where it goes with the states. You can bring in reinforcement learning. You're thinking about it as like a digital skitter box, but really like more advanced, right? It's really just taking a different approach, like where are they now, and then giving like what is the true next best action across all those customers.
Let's talk about how modern AI decisioning actually works. I know you've built a few things in your current position to allow for this. So let's talk about the technical architecture that makes this possible in simple terms, Mike. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's why I like to go back. A lot of people will kind of just laugh at me, but I kind of do it on purpose. It's like calling it a digital Skinner box. So in college, if you ever like did the whole operant conditioning and like having the rat that basically had to like hit a lever to get fed, get its reward, or like it would get shocked if it did the wrong things, right? It started to learn over time. That's really effectively is what like decisioning like under machine learning and AI is doing. It's identifying like how is it going to win, right? How is it going to get fed? Like what is the reward that you're optimizing it for? So that's the first step we have to do is really like think about like what is the true goal that we want it to optimize for. And then it really starts to think about like flipping between like what it knows works and like what are new kind of like elements, right? Like so it starts to think about like the things that we know that work, and I know like if I give you a discount, probably going to buy because I know a lot about you, but hey, maybe I don't want to give away all my margin, like we'll put a certain percentage of time. So it's kind of like old A/B, but A/B testing, but it's really like just on steroids, like they say, right? It's the opportunity where we can do all this thing like at scale. So it starts to determine the two different kind of like elements there, and what really is most effective for you. What's going to make you so I can get my reward.
Why should we trust it, Mike? I mean, that's the one thing that marketers and salespeople always think about.
I always say, and I put that in like some of my writing, on my blog and LinkedIn. It's just math. Really, all it's doing is looking at like patterns, right? And it's looking at patterns in data, right? Like a lot of us have done this a long time, and that's really where experience is really just being able to recognize patterns because we've seen them before. The great thing about AI is like it's got such a big trading base that it can see so many patterns from that. And then it can also apply that and learn it over time, right? So it's not going to be always right, but it's going to, be effective. The biggest thing I would say is like thinking about your guardrails, right? So that's why we have entry and exit criteria to like give it guardrails. You don't want to chokehold it and like give it such specific rules like we used to write, but you do want to give it guardrails to the point where it's not going to go rogue and like try to do things to win, right? Like it needs to know that. So that's why you can trust it. It's just looking at patterns. It's just math.
I know on a different track that you developed an AI application for your current company. Can you share what it does with us just a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm in the marketing department, and specifically around what we call CRM. So that's email marketing, and we would say like SMS marketing, mobile app messaging, programmatic, kind of in social, things like that.
It's
right?
the whole channel, omni-channel concept.
Exactly. I mean, we're not like web. We have people that do web and stuff specifically there, but the agent that I built is really focused on our strategists. So our strategists are very good. They're marketers. They're not tech. So the agent that I built is really using that knowledge that I have, like kind of like in both of the camps, to be able to allow the marketing user to go through and actually just in free form in language, like talk about like what their vision is for the experience. And then it walks them through the process. It makes sure that the use cases are robust enough through the whole process. It like has checks on that. And then the whole goal of this is to translate it into more of like a use case and kind of a technical guide for the IT team so they can actually develop the solution and come back and answer that.
So let's start with comparing traditional marketing to the AI era marketing. Let's start there, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this really like starts to illustrate what we had been talking about, especially earlier in our session. This goes back to what I talked about, like traditional, like direct marketing. I would say in this case, it goes back to the postal mail days, where it was a physical piece that had to be in a separate bin to be able to be sent to somebody. So we thought about life cycle stages at that point, but a lot of it was inside out, and it was very rules-based learning that we need to create. So it's a whole bunch of if-then rules, right? Like we're always doing these predetermined actions, and it goes back to what I said. It's really like that high school yearbook again. It's who they are, but they're only who they are at that point, not necessarily who they are today. So that's the biggest thing about traditional marketing, and kind of thinking about it that way, because in the age of digital, and now especially in the age of AI, and there's companies that are on the cutting edge of this, like Amazon or Netflix or even Uber and things like that, you're going to get left behind if you're really thinking about traditional marketing in 2026. When we start thinking about AI era marketing, that's the biggest difference. And I would say there are some people that are thinking about customer states, but as I mentioned before, the analogy I give is like a GPS with traffic information.
Absolutely.
So it's really telling where somebody is right at that moment. And that's the whole goal. You kind of want that as near real time as possible, right? So it's very like up to date on where they are, because you can help to guide the learning system, the decisioning engine on like where they are in the points at a high level. Done.
Love the way you've laid this out, because I think it helps everyone understand.
Absolutely. And I'll just go through the decisioning architecture. It goes to the state definition again. That's another great job. That's going to be a human identifying those high level states, because you have that experience of kind of how the business works. I think that's usually not in the generic training sets.
Right.
So it's allowing it to understand kind of the different things that can be true about a customer at one time. So their human strategist kind of defines that. The same way with the measurement framework, that should be tied together with both the taxonomy from the decisioning architecture, but also the metadata, because like once you're figuring out like how to measure, are you measuring by state, or do you go back to the old way where we measured by campaign or like piece of content or whatever else, right? You're defining those kind of things and interpreting that so you can grow from that. And the last thing is really vendor evaluation. I've done a lot of pre-sales support in my career. It's really just going through like what's real. I guess I'm in Gen X, so like really digging into like get out all the BS or whatever you want to say, and like figure out like what's real, and make sure that the flowery magic box like hype that's been talked about a lot of things, like what's truly real. So go into the vendors and actually ask them the questions of like, how are they thinking about your business? How would their solution kind of truly handle that?
So we know that everything starts with data and quality data, but what's the metadata governance problem that really has the ability to kill any initiative before it starts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you start thinking about the metadata, it's really a lot of places. Everybody as a human kind of just comes up with their own descriptions for things. They could be initials. I have an example of, I have a truck model in my current job where we found that it's a very simple name for a truck, but we found that it was like in the system 8 different ways, and it's very simple. It's only 4 characters. Like amazingly that somebody could figure out 8 different ways to describe it, right? Like the same way for like segments or audience names or whatever else, everybody comes up with their own name for things, and it's like not consistent. So that's really, like, as I said, not the most sexy work ever, that people think about, because it's the creative they love. But if you don't have consistency in how you're kind of describing things, first of all, I've been told this multiple times, if you have chaos and then you apply AI to chaos, basically all that AI does is amplify the chaos. So you're going to have a real mess, because the problem with having things described so many different ways, we had like that truck was described 8 different ways. We had a segment that was described 25 different ways. So then when you start to, yeah, exactly, and like the results. So when we started to look at results from it, like there's no way you can match all that together, because first of all, the learning system thinks it's 25 different things, and like the reporting, like as a human we might know it's all the same, but it thinks about it as 25 different things. So you don't have like that real.
So my last question: what should a marketing executive who's working closely with her sales counterpart or his sales counterpart validate before they commit dollars to scaling marketing automation? What do they need to think about? What do they need to validate so they are not wasting precious dollars?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is really just to evaluate on what we talked about in a lot of this. Is the system actually learning? Is it starting to bring things like on its own? Or is it a thing where, we're at like releases where we update rules quarterly or something like that? If they're just saying that we have releases and we're adding things like quarterly that seem like they're very like rigid rules, that's thinking about it in the old way. If they're talking about how they're actually applying AI and learning, that's like the first piece. The second thing is like, how are they actually then, so especially if you're using machine learning and decisioning learning systems like we've been talking about, it's like the guardrails that we mentioned as well. Like, how do they think about guardrails? You don't want to like have so many rules that you choke the system, so it's not going to be able to find nano cohorts that you couldn't find yourself. But you also don't want to go to the wild, wild west and let it just decide anything that it needs to win, right? To get its treat, to be fed. So those are like, I think, the 2 most important things I would say that any executive needs to really kind of just validate with any vendor.
Well, and I think if we're looking at this, then right, we're looking at learning, whether we call that AI or not. Right. We're not looking at static rule-based systems anymore. We're looking at learning systems that can bring new information that would take humans a long time to find, so that the human, in fact, can make decisions about it. So I don't think this is all AI or all human. It's now a mix. The human is going to learn
absolutely.
From AI,
I think I read an article recently, like HBR, Harvard did a study, I think, of Amazon, where Amazon said, we're going to like let go of all these people and just let AI do the job. They found out that wasn't successful either. So like, don't buy into the hype that AI agents, a lot of vendors are saying agents are going to do it for you. You won't need extra people. You're going to save money and all this other stuff. I think if you use it as a tool, there's a lot of efficiencies that can be built, but there's nuance in that statement. Like we saw that, like I've been around long enough that we saw it with the .bomb era, where everybody said like brick and mortar stores are dead. We still have brick and mortar stores. In fact, like Amazon builds brick and mortar stores today with Whole Foods, right? So it's like, don't just buy into that agents are magic, but validate there as well.
Well, I think the lesson is we can't get rid of the lessons we learned about sales and marketing working together, and sales and marketing working across an enterprise together as a team. Those things still hold. We just have new tools that we can use to further what we need to get done. But I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Kay. I truly appreciate the clarity you guys have brought, I think, not just for me, but for our audiences. And I love how Mike simplifies his knowledge for all of us. And I look forward to more articles from you, Mike. So it's always a great learning and a quick read also. So great work there. And I think to our audiences, thank you for staying with us. And if you have any questions or comments, please write in there, and we would love to write back to you guys. And thank you, Mike, for your time, and Kay for steering this conversation in a beautiful, insightful, thoughtful manner. And the 2 of you were a great combo. I loved it. and I hope our audiences loved it too. Signing off from this side, I think stay curious, stay bold, and keep reinventing revenue with AI. So yeah, that's it from me, and see you next time.